Hey guys, this is Jon Anik from the UFC. You're watching the Fight Week show. Please subscribe. Not now, but right now. Subscribe to the Fight Week show. We'll see you guys on the road soon.
Hey, good afternoon, people. Fight Week show fans, Fight Week show people. Then we are back with another episode, and I got my boy over here, Paul's Pod. How you doing, my bro?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me on. I've just noticed the Jon Anik intro. I like it a lot.
Yeah, man. We had Jon Anik on the show, at some point last year. Down
Solid
to
guy,
earth,
man.
brother.
Yeah, proper solid guy.
Give us all the time. We even asked him to do us his kit, and he put it together for us, as you can see. And he's always reaching out to us on Insta, Twitter, and all that sort of thing. So yeah, nice. Man, big shout out to Jon Anik, man. He got a lot of time for us. We have a lot of time for him as well, and maybe down the line we're looking to bring him back. He's a busy brother, but
how nice is it it's nice to get support from people. Yeah, it's nice to get the support of people that high up in their field to show support to people like us. It means a lot. It goes very far.
100%. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna lie, it opened a lot of doors as well. So shout out to him.
That's always good.
Yeah, man.
Shout out to him, man. I'm trying to get him on my podcast soon.
Yeah, I'm sure it happened. It's more scheduled
timing,
for those guys than anything else. You know what I mean? It's just more scheduled. If you've got time, you'll probably do it. You know what I mean? Bro, we've had a lot going on in the MMA world. But I wanted to talk about your channel, and what you do first before we jump into the whole MMA scene. You've been doing at least on the YouTube scene now for a couple of years, for what I've seen on your channel, and some of the people that you've spoken to in this industry, bro. Take my hat off to
Thank you,
bro.
bro.
You know
Appreciate it.
It's a lot of hard work, a lot of graft. I know how difficult it is, but which one would you say you really didn't expect how the conversation was gonna go, but it just took you by surprise, and you just had a wild one with it?
I'd say Paul Craig.
Yeah,
Paul Craig. Yeah, because that was the first time I went to. So for people that don't know, I've been to the last 2 UFC London shows to do content. I've got interviews, and it's worth noting as well, I didn't have any media credentials. Like I was completely denied. I actually got into a bit of I wouldn't say trouble, but the UFC staff, one particular UFC staff, wasn't too pleasant on me returning for the last show to do content, but that's a different story. So I was doing my content anyway after being told no. And obviously with these guys during fight week, you're not expecting to get more than like 5 to 10 minutes of their time, just because they've got a massive fight on the weekend, they've got loads of media to do. So it's always kind of very touch and go who you're even going to get. So I was just speaking to Paul Craig, and I was expecting I'd be happy with like 5 to 10 minutes, and it literally ended up just being like a mini podcast. Like we spoke for half an hour about shoes and talking about how the Scottish have a relation to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it was I'd say that was the one that took me by surprise the most.
Yeah, but it's always nice when you. Cause a lot of the time we reach out to these fighters, and you tell them, look, 15 minutes, 20 minutes most, again, because it's their fight week, they're preparing for fights, they've got a lot on their mind, they've got to do plenty of media, like you said, and they make time for you. And one like that was Modestas Bukauskas, and it was just about to go for the fight where he won the title at Cage Warriors. The England versus the American one. He knocked out the brother, and it was just about to say 15-20 minutes. 45 minutes we were still there, and he didn't even want to leave. We were talking about football, talking about Arsenal, all sorts. You know what I mean?
You an Arsenal fan?
Yeah.
Oh, mate, you bottled the league big time.
I know. Trust me, I've been holding a lot of L's all bloody week.
Oh, mate, it's not. I'm
it's
a Man
bad.
United fan. I wanted to see Arsenal win the league. I can't be arsed seeing City win again and again and again.
Yeah, a lot of United fans are like that. My missus is a United fan, and it's the same. Like they didn't want City to go and get the free P, but it looked like City is gonna win it and that's gonna tie the United record.
Oh, mate,
Record,
that's the one thing United fans don't want to hear is City winning the treble. I mean, it's gonna come down.
We gave it our best shot, but you know what I mean. I think for me, I say blame the FA for letting them after them 150 charges they got. Still letting them compete in the Premier League. You know what I mean? We tried. We did our part. The FA could have done something about it.
I saw something that I think it was around January or February. I saw a statistic that the points that Arsenal had at that point, no team had ever lost the Premier League at that point. Yeah, and you know what's funny as well was that at Christmas, Gary Neville was saying how Arsenal are going to bottle it, and Arsenal fans tore into him. And
I saw him on the overlap doing talking the most, and it turns out he's right. He was right all along. It turns out he was right all along. Look, it's been a mad season though. I can't lie. I've had some really really good moments this season, but what I praised you lot for, Man United, and what we didn't do was go deep in cups and fight on all fronts. And you lot been in Ten Hag's first season, you lot been able to achieve that and do it with the same squad that who did he add? Casemiro.
We had Casemiro, Martinez, Ericsson came on a free as well. But we've dealt with a lot of injuries this season as well. We've played a lot of games, obviously, and that I mean, there's no excuse for playing loads of games. You want to be in every competition, you want to get as far as possible, so you have to be prepared for it. But I just don't think. I think for what Ten Hag had at his disposal, like you said, I think we have had a very good season. It's willing that we finish in the top four. That is, I mean, it's not 100% guaranteed. I think we should be okay, but just we need to just get top four.
I'm praying that you lot let Liverpool in, and we'll see who really bottom the league.
No,
I'm praying, but Liverpool are knocking now, man. And I know. Listen, this happened to us last season. The last team you could take Brighton finishing in front of you. You could take Aston Villa finishing in front of you. But to let Liverpool come from where they came from and end up in front of you lot would be a disaster.
I know. It would be a disaster. We've just shut on Liverpool the whole time as well.
So, we did it with Tottenham last season with 4 games to go with so many points to earn, and Tottenham ended up pipping us to 4th place. I don't know how it happened. We were nailed on for 4th spot last season. We ended up 5th. So this league, that's one of the things with this league. And we digressed, didn't we? Modestus Bukaska, we ended up talking about Arsenal.
I know.
It gave us so much time. I love that, brother. And
who would you say is your favorite interview that you've done out of all the people that you've interviewed?
Boy, there's been quite a few. I have to put Adrian Yanez up there. Adrian Yanez was a really good one. Again, we asked for 20 minutes. We ended up doing an hour with him. We just talked about so much stuff, and so much of his experiences coming up. Him moving as a coach, and being the coach at Metro Club when his coach passed away, because that was a really really emotional subject for him as well. And him being a dad and incorporating that into MMA. So yeah, Adrian Yanez has to be one of them. I want to say Kate Bacic as well. Kate Bacic was a really really good one. Simeon Powell, yeah. Shout out to Smooth. He's a done. So yeah, we Louis Sutherland as well. He was a Tottenham fan too. Yeah, Louis Sutherland. Shout out to Louis Sutherland too. That's another good one. We've had some fantastic guests on, and it's
John Anik surely as well. He's got to be up there.
Who?
John Anik.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I said,
given though.
He opened a lot of doors. These are the names that I'm mentioning are the doors that he basically opened. I said at top of the show, he opened a lot of doors, and yeah, he's right up there. Even John Gooden, we've had John Gooden on the show. Brad Wharton, we've spoken to Brad Wharton, Cage Warriors commentator. So I've I've been lucky enough just to even open my mouth and talk to these people and
Yeah, man.
yourself.
Well, you're grinding, bro, and you speak well. You've got a good show, so it's only a
Yeah,
matter of time before more of these opportunities come up.
thank you, sir. I mean, I see one of your latest clips with Adam Catterall. How was that chat with? Because I love that guy, by the way. I mean, so some of the his takes are funny to me when I watch him and Bisping and Nick Pitt. When you
Yeah.
watch those guys, they got a good dynamic going on there. But how was that for you? Speaking to someone like Adam Catterall that's so invested in the sport as we see.
Yeah, it's always nice to have the recognition from people that in the kind of same position that you're in, that you want to get to. I think they've kind of set the mark for coverage of the UFC in the UK, corporately at least. They've set the bar very high, and being able to speak with them on fight weeks, and Adam's a very busy guy. He doesn't really do anything outside of his own ventures. So for him to come onto my podcast twice and just do a kind of fight breakdown for the shows, I mean, I'm sure if he watches this, he might have been a bit reluctant to doing so. I kind of did push him a bit too much to make sure that it would happen, but I'm very grateful for it. That, like I said, it takes a lot for someone that's got that much, duties to do during a fight week, especially, to just take out half an hour of his time just to talk about the fights. Yeah, it means a lot.
Yeah, man, it's fantastic. Being around those type of people, and you get that little inspiration, the energy boost to
and you
one.
can take stuff as well. Like you can, like even during a conversation, you can just take stuff and learn stuff from what he's
100%.
doing and how he's answering. And there's always small things that you can pick up on.
Yeah, man, that's for sure. That's for sure. All right, let's talk about the last card that we've just seen. I want to talk about Almeida and Rozenstruik, because Almeida is somebody. He's turning into a monster for 205ers and heavyweights, because it's double dutching them two divisions, and I reckon he can run that division if he really put his mind to it, especially with the thoughts that Jon Jones, after this one fight, maybe he could be hanging it up. How do you see that whole landscape and where Almeida fits in all of that with the skill?
Well, yeah, it's funny because going into the Rozenstruik fight, I think that was one thing that everyone was saying, was that can he hang with big heavyweights? And I think Rozenstruik weighed in almost at the maximum of 265 pounds.
Yep.
So that doesn't really get any bigger than that. Obviously, Rozenstruik's not known for his ground game anyway, so it wasn't necessarily the best test to kind of see how good his grappling skills would be against a higher ranked grappler in the heavyweight division. But I think even, just to smoke him the way he did, and made it look so easy. I think Jailton Almeida, has the potential to really be a contender, like you said, in both the divisions. I think, him against Yuri, him against Yan, him against, Ankalaev, and then again at the heavyweights, him against Tom Aspinall, like all these guys, they're all good fights to make in two weight divisions. So I think the UFC are lucky to have someone like Almeida, because it seems like he's a potential star in the making.
Yeah, I mean, he's so lovely to watch. How about that entry for that takedown on Jairzinho? I mean, the entry was flawless. The way he picked him up, almost took him right across the octagon, and just dumped him there. And we all knew what was coming. You could see the writing on the wall just from the takedown alone. Rozenstruik had no answer, and within a couple of moves, he gave up his back, and you don't do that with somebody like Jailton and Almeida.
No, definitely not.
It's absolutely it was over. I believe as well he can do wonders for both divisions. UFC, like you said, I mean, it's not often. Maybe it could get better at English, and I've seen a lot of these, South American, Brazilian fighters. Once they start reaching contention or maybe even win the belt, they put extra effort into speaking English and being able to market themselves.
Well, that's it. If you speak English, mate, you make a lot more money.
Exactly that. At least the trash talk will be a lot better when we have the press conferences and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting.
Even aside from the trash talking, though, I think like once you can actually speak English, you just have more fans that are able to access your content and more able to understand who you are, and that's
100%.
It's the story and the personality of the fighter that gets fans behind him. So that's obviously will then help grow his profile.
100%, and with somebody like him, the skill set that he has, because he's not just a submission artist. He's got hands as well. You know what I mean? He's got hands as well. But I don't know if Jon Jones is gonna hang around to see.
No, I highly doubt it.
I doubt it. I think this
Jon Jones only needs to beat Stipe for his legacy. That's it.
Yeah, I agree with that. And he's done so much in the sport, man, and people don't get. I know because of his out of the octagon antics and stuff like that, it doesn't really get that recognition. And I've been guilty of it myself. I'm not gonna lie, I've been guilty of it myself, looking from afar. But when you really like strip it down and look at what he's really done in MMA from such a young age, I mean, it was youngest UFC champion. When he got the belt, it's ridiculous. Mate, and not lose a fight.
Look at the guys that he was beating in their prime, like in literally, like we talk about, like right now we talk about the bantamweight division and the lightweight division, about the marquee names, but mate, Jon Jones was in the deepest division of them all at the time that he was fighting and being the champion. He was doing it at the age that he was doing it. He was finishing people like there was no tomorrow. And you talk about the out of octagon stuff. That makes it more impressive because he's beating all these guys while he's sniffing coke on the weekend and not even training that hard.
Trying like this,
not even trying to train as hard as possible. He's smashing everyone.
Incredible human being, man. And when it's go time, he just knows how to turn up and get shit done. That bottom line, that's what it is. He knows how to turn up and just get stuff done.
100%. And I think, if I'm honest, I can see the Stipe fight being a 1 or 2 round fight. I just don't see how Stipe. I don't think Stipe wants the fight, to be honest. I think Stipe is just gonna. I mean, I'd like to see it go a few rounds and it'd be a really grueling, fucking hard fight. But to be honest, I just can see it being another 1 round job, just super easy for Jon Jones.
You see, I have a different take here. I feel like Stipe is one of those guys that gives you that vibe till you see him start fighting. He almost moves like he don't even care about the fight. Doesn't do a ton of media. The attitude is not really there, even when he's in media. And then you see him in there, he starts to fight. And then you're thinking, holy shit. Okay, maybe this brother is really here to fight, and Stipe's got some surprising results where you don't really give him a chance like that, and then he goes and does stuff. I've seen him with the first fight with Francis, and the whole build-up, even though he was a champion, the whole build-up was about Francis and he's this machine. He punches more than 4 days score and all this other crazy shit that they were talking about. And Stipe, what? Okay, you know what I mean? Just pretend I'm not here. I'll show up, I'll do my thing, and then we'll see who can punch it, 4 days cut better. And he came in there and just subdued Francis and just mothered him and showed him a whole different part of MMA that Francis ain't really used to at that point. So the sort of ways that, I mean, even when he won the title, who did he finish moving backwards? I forget his name.
It was
this Brazilian brother.
Yeah. Oh man, we should know this.
His name escapes me. But
Fabricio Verdum.
Yeah, Verdum. Thank you. Yeah. To knock somebody out moving backwards like that, and it's not the first time he's done something like that. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
slip people moving back.
I mean, you can't deny Stipe's greatness. You can't deny what he's done. I mean, he
Should
is
he
the
be
greatest
the
heavyweight of all
greatest
time.
heavyweight of all time?
I think so.
As far
Yeah.
as UFC should be.
I think it's fair to say. I mean, he had the longest ever heavyweight title run. I think before he got beat. I just think obviously the age is a big factor. He's been in a lot of wars now. He's taken a lot of damage. You know, his last 2 losses were heavy losses. He got TKO'd by Daniel Cormier and then really got knocked out by by Francis.
Yeah.
And that Francis fight was what? That Francis fight was like 2020, I think, because it was during COVID. So that's 3 years ago. I don't know. I just feel like time. You know, you look at people like Jon Jones, and it's different because Jon Jones, obviously, he's been in fights and wars, but he's never been knocked out. He's never taken damage quite like Stipe. So for him to come back for 3 years when he's the greatest of all time, anyway, I think it was a bit different. But for Stipe, I don't know. I just question whether he's also just mentally there for it. Maybe like a lot of fighters, especially when they get to that age, they've kind of clocked out. You know, I feel like this fight is more forced upon Stipe more than that he wants to take it. I think it's a fight that everyone wants to see. The UFC want to see it happen, and he's almost kind of backed into corner into taking it. Because if he doesn't take it, then it's like it's a bit of a taint on his legacy. So I feel like he's kind of got no option but to take this fight. That's how I see it, though. But I'm hoping it'll be a good fight.
Yeah, I mean, we all want to see a good fight, and you know, hopefully it delivers. I want to ask you about Easy and Alex Pereira. Right, we saw what happened between these guys, and we know. Look, we watch the sport, we follow the sport, we follow, you know, the meritocracy that goes within the rankings. But we know Alex Pereira was fast forwarded so he could, you know, obviously get to see Israel Adesanya before the potential of that fight expires, because it's a big money fight. Everybody wants to see it. He knocks out Easy in the first fight, albeit TKO, but still finished him. And Easy came back and finished him the way he did. What did you make of, you know, the whole rivalry between them? How it ended? Should Easy go to 205 and give him that trilogy? What's your thoughts on all of that? And should he have, you know, taunted his son as well? that taunt at the end was mad.
I have no issue with the taunting of the son, to be honest. I think it's pretty funny. But I think if you look at how all of the fights went in kickboxing, especially, I think it was only fair and right that Izzy won. I think the 3, because that was their 4th fight altogether. So Pereira's winning 3-1 on their fights. I think 3-1 doesn't really represent how close the fights were. I don't think it was a 3-1 masterclass from Pereira, and that's why he's won 3 fights. I think Izzy was also very unlucky in a lot of the fights, but that's the fight game. You can't really do anything about that.
That's right.
I think the UFC are smart. I think they know what they're doing. I think Adesanya is probably going to fight again at 185. Pereira go up to 205, probably maybe fight for the belt, because there's a lot of strikers at 205 as well. So I think the trilogy fight is definitely, I think that fight will definitely happen again. I just think it'll be once maybe Pereira has won the 205 belt and Adesanya is just still waiting. It's like, okay, well, maybe he can try again to move up and be the 2-weight world champion and try and go up to 205. But that's a different gravy.
A very good take, though. That's you know what? Because he did say he wasn't done at 205, and he might revisit it at some point. Obviously, visiting it when
he likes challenges. He's not someone that just kind of sits down after a challenge and goes away. He'll definitely, since that he's lost that fight, he's definitely been eager to think about going to 205. But the only thing is with the fight at 205 with Pereira, 205 with Pereira, man. Pereira's a big guy.
Yeah. We know the weight cut was killing for Pereira, you know, making 185 was just killing him. The same way that we know making 170 is killing Khamzat, because we know how much of an animal Khamzat Chimaev is. but making 170 is eating him alive, and he doesn't want to. Because the first time I heard his coach came out and said, "Look, he doesn't want to do that no more." It's kind of the same vibe that I get with Alex Pereira, not wanting to make 185 no more. You know what I mean? It's just, I mean, it's not spring chicken no more, neither. As far as the sport in itself, and this is somebody that's had so many fights and so many weight cuts. So I think he'll do well at 205. I really give him a good chance to at 205, because since Jon Jones has left that division, I think the belt has been like hot potato. It's just bouncing from people to people to people. Glover won it, Yuri won it. Now Jamal Hill's got it. Like, we've had 3 champions since Jon Jones is left. So it's like, who's really gonna hold on to this belt and give it some successful defenses? We haven't seen it yet. Maybe Pereira could be that guy that could come and do it. Jamal Hill, so far, good challenger that won it, but can he keep it? And that's a whole different mind shift.
I think it's going to be difficult to see anyone hold the belt like Jon Jones did. I think it's always going to be hard, especially in his division, to compare it to someone like Jones, because I just can't see anyone ever repeating Jon Jones's legacy at light heavyweight. It will take something very, very special for it to be recreated. So I don't see that happening in the near future. But, Jamal Hill's still a good champion. Jamal Hill versus Pereira, it's an interesting fight. I'd pay to see it. I mean, we're lucky. We don't have to pay for the pay-per-views here, but I mean, I would pay to see it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's one of. I mean, it's a good price to pay when we're staying up 3 o'clock in the morning to watch
Yeah.
it.
People in America complain when it's on like the west coast as opposed to the east coast. It's like, mate, you have no idea.
You have no idea what we have to deal with to watch it. So I mean, it's a good sacrifice if we're going to watch it for free, but watch it at ungodly hours of the night. Then so be it. I'll take that. I'll take that every day of the week, man. So let's talk about. I want to move to the welterweight division now. We've seen what's happened over the last couple of cards, and we've seen new contenders coming up. We've just seen Gilbert and Belal. We've seen Leon with Usman, and shout out to Leon as well. Jermaine Lewin, big up to those guys from Renegade, from the Renegade gym. Salute to those guys. What do you think? What do you think the next course of action should be? Because now Masvidal is out of the picture. I was so hoping for that Masvidal fight with Leon, man. Like, man can't come over here on home soil, do what he did to Leon, and then just bask away into the sunset, which it looks like that's what's happened.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh my God! What's your take on all of that and the whole landscape of the welterweight?
Well, the next fight's got to be Colby. Whether people want to admit it or not, Colby is the most interesting fight for the title for Leon. It's the one that's going to make him the most money. It's the one that's going to have the best build up. So I'm all in for the Colby Edwards fight. I think it'd be a great fight. I think Leon will. That might be biased because British, but I just think. I mean, look how well Colby did against Usman, but look how good Leon did. I think Leon is just a few levels above Colby, and then after that it's Belal Muhammad. That's obviously the fight that's got to happen, and then
and they have history. They have a little history as well, isn't it?
They have a little bit of history. I mean, Leon was winning the fight easily, I think.
It was winning.
Again, I think that's an easy fight for Leon. I think Leon would finish Belal. Belal's a tough guy, but I can just see Leon beating him. And then, I mean, I don't know whether it would happen or not, but my bonus one to throw in there would be Islam Makhachev coming up to 170 to fight for the belt. I think that fight could happen. It just depends on how many wins. Or do you know what? Actually, I say that right. In my perfect world, what would happen? And I'm not saying this because I think it's going to happen. I'm just saying this because I want it to happen. But I'd love McGregor to go and knock out Chandler at 170. And then, because if McGregor beats Chandler at 170, he'll definitely get the title shot. And then next year, they'll do Edwards and McGregor in England or in Dublin.
That'd be amazing.
That would be
fucking mad. what the scenario you just laid down just now, that would be crazy, man. Because we still don't know. I personally don't think the Chandler McGregor thing, because they're doing tough. Well, they're going to premiere tough in a couple of weeks or less than a couple of weeks. So I'm really looking forward to that show. I'm a big fan of that show. Even when when you're a fan of, like we just spoke about, football clubs, even though they shit, you still kind of stick with them. That's kind of how I've been with tough, even when they've been shite. Because I love the show so much, and I've watched previous ones that I've enjoyed. I've just stuck with it and watched even the bad ones. So this one here, that the coaches they got here, and what they got going on there, and I've seen some of the trailers and stuff. It looks pretty good. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't know. I think they're probably going to be doing it at 170, McGregor and Chandler.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean,
definitely.
McGregor is so big, He's big. I mean, he's big.
Definitely.
Man. I
think the reason why they've not announced it is because obviously McGregor needs to be in the testing pool for 6 months.
Yeah.
And we're just hitting. So the 30th anniversary of the UFC is in November at MSG. So my guess would be that McGregor's joining the testing pool now, so that in 6 months' time, and they'll probably announce the fight during the series. That would be my guess.
Yeah. How long did that? Usually it's about maybe a month, couple months after the series ends. Before I mean,
but it's just obviously McGregor's not in the testing pool. That's what makes it different. And also, I think that's why the UFC probably haven't been too bothered about like rushing to announce anything, because let's be honest, the 30th anniversary of the UFC, you want the biggest paycheck possible. So McGregor at MSG, doesn't really get bigger than that.
Yeah, man, that would be dope, man. That would be dope. I'd like to see. I'd like to see McGregor and Leon do it, even just for the money part, like secure Leon's, like I mean,
I'm a massive Leon fan.
He deserves the bag.
He definitely deserves it, and I just think like a fight between Leon and McGregor. I'm a McGregor diehard fan, and I want McGregor to win, but I would be happy if either of those guys won. I mean, people like to hate on McGregor, but man, you're lying if you didn't say that he changed the sport. He changed the sport. He's a GOAT in his own terms. What he achieved was never seen before and will be very hard to replicate. He got a lot of people into the sport, me included. Like, I wouldn't have been as massive as a fan if it wasn't for McGregor.
Yeah.
And I always make the comparison between him and like someone like Mike Tyson because of the downward spiral that he's gone on. I mean, there's no way that you can go from being like collecting welfare from the Irish government to fighting Floyd Mayweather in 4 years and be sane. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. That there's no way that your brain can process that. To go from just a normal person from block to being the most famous person on the planet within a handful of years, it's impossible for you to deal with that stress and the mental capacity to be the baddest man on the planet, where everyone's feeding you this ego and everyone's fueling the ego even further, and you're probably surrounded by people that shouldn't be around you, and you're probably partying a lot, and it's not easy to direct all of that around. So I always say it's never a straightforward answer with McGregor. You can't just hate on him for the way that he's acted, because if you try to put yourself in his shoes, mate, you definitely wouldn't be able to react in a normal way either. So he's just actually released, I've just been watching the first episode of his new documentary, McGregor Forever. It came out today. And it's about, the first episode is about him and Khabib. So I mean,
I think it's on Netflix, isn't it?
It's on Netflix. Yeah, McGregor Forever.
That came up on my timeline. Still, I definitely got put some time together to watch that, and I'm sure there's some really interesting scenes in that show there. But I'm looking forward to watching it, and he came up on my timeline a couple of days ago, so definitely gonna make some time to watch that. Usman is called a Khamzat, right? But he's talking catchweight, and I mentioned earlier on, we know Khamzat don't want to come to 170, right? Usman is always talked about, when I'm done here and I'm done cleaning up here, maybe I'll move up to 185 and see what's over there. You know what I mean? Maybe challenge somebody. I'm not saying I'm going to fight everybody over there, but maybe there's a couple guys over there that I'm gonna go to 185 and see. And Khamzat's talking. Khamzat's is not looking for a home at 185. Usman's calling him out, asking him to come and fight a catchweight at 180. Bro, you've been talking about for the longest. How are you going to go to 185 and see some people over there? Why don't you just go over there and see him at 185? What's the hold up? Because Dana was talking about it in the interview I saw him a couple of days ago, that the problem with Usman calling out Khamzat is he's talking about catchweight. You don't want to do it at catchweight.
No.
You want, to be meaningful, to be a meaningful fight. Let's do it at the proper weight class, 185. What's your thoughts?
I mean, I don't know what weight class it would be. That's probably the most interesting question. Is it going to be at 185 or 170, like you say? And the only thing that makes me think that it won't be at 185 is just because of his relationship with Adesanya being the champ. So I don't know how likely it is that it'll be at 185. I could be wrong, but I think it's probably more likely to be at 170 if they were to do it. And I mean, my thoughts on that fight, I think it might be an unpopular opinion, but I think Usman would beat Khamzat, to be honest, especially if it was a 5-round fight. A 5-round fight, I definitely think Usman would win that. I think it's a closer fight if it's just a 3-round fight, but I think 5 rounds, Khamzat just burns out the tank in the first 2 or 3 rounds, and then Usman just dominates in the last 2.
Yeah, I mean, we saw him with Gilbert, and when he had that fight with Gilbert Burns, if Burns had, I don't know, maybe another round, maybe two more minutes in that fight, I think he beat Khamzat. I really do. He gave him one of the best fights I've seen Burns involved in, and that was a pretty special night between both of those guys. I just don't see Usman going to 185 and beating Khamzat though. On the other hand, and as you said, if it came to 170, Usman will probably get the better of him, and not just a 5-rounder because it's a 5-rounder, but we also know the weight cut
100%
will diminish
100%.
Khamzat's performance. So it's a sticky situation. I don't know what they do, where they go with the welterweight. I just want to see Colby and Leon, even though we know Leon is kind of resisting it a little bit, at least from what is been going around in media.
He's resisting it until they put the money in front of him, and then he's like, right, come on, let's sign.
He's just waiting for the right bag, yeah?
Yeah, mate. Like I said, I think the only difference if Masvidal would have won that fight, he probably would have pushed for that fight more, but it just didn't happen. So come on, Leon's not an idiot. He definitely knows that the biggest fight and the best fight out there for him is Colby. There's no one really else deserving apart from Bilal, and he doesn't really want to fight Bilal. So
yeah, I think Colby is the way forward. I like Colby. Colby is just it's a type of fight you have to get used to him, and once you're used to him, and you can decipher whether it's bullshit or. You know what I mean? Because everybody says how nice he is. Everybody says how soft-spoken he is.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I definitely think that from the act that he puts on, I can completely understand people seeing him as a bellend. And I'm sure that even aside from the character, I'm sure he has got a bellend side to him. He's a fighter at the end of the day. And I do believe a lot of the reasons as to why Masvidal has beef with him to be true with the way he's treated other people. So I don't think he's necessarily a saint, but I do respect what he's done to market himself, and he's a great fighter, and he's done what he needed to do to be a big name and to make the money to get the shots that he deserves, and he's in a position that he's put himself in, really. So you've got to also respect that.
Yeah, man, fantastic. That's a great take right there. Thank you so much for your time. I'm very, very conscious.
All good, man. Don't worry.
We're approaching 40 minutes right now, and big up to everybody that's watching us. Salute to you. Hit the like button, hit the share button, get us out there, and go subscribe to Pulse Pod. We're gonna have a description in the in our description area. Go check him out.
Did you want to talk about Ngannou?
Oh yeah, that's my next topic. I just wanted to
Yeah.
plug that bit in
Oh,
first before.
yeah. Thank you. I wasn't sure if you were closing the show. Then I was
No,
like,
no,
oh,
no,
we
no,
could
no.
talk a little bit more. But yeah, thank you.
I'm going to talk.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, man. We're gonna jump onto Francis now. Francis Ngannou is just signed with PFL. The news broke over 24 hours ago, and he's got some perks to his contract. These are the perks that I was looking for with UFC, one championship. What did you think of the one championship president coming out and dogging Francis the way he did when everybody kind of knew in the offing, well, most people, um, that PFL was probably the route for Francis and where he was going to go. And months before, I don't know if many people caught this, but Francis was teasing. He put a teaser out that
Yeah, the T-shirt with his mum.
yeah, exactly. He put a teaser out, so everybody kind of almost knew. It's like somebody going to sign for Manchester United, and then you put United. They've been trying to sign you, and then you put your mum in a United shirt.
Well,
Everybody knows where you're going.
yeah.
What I mean?
Well, I think the reason why the one president came out and probably said that was just kind of just to, cover their backside publicly so that they don't ever look like the bad guy. But I mean, congratulations to Francis. He's got what he wanted out of things. I don't know the full details of the contract. I know that now he's like the president of
He
PFL
said,
Africa.
yeah,
He's got like an equity type of deal where there's a guaranteed 2 million purse for the fighter that fights him. There's a voice for fighters on board. So I think,
and he's still allowed to box as well.
yeah, and he's still allowed to box. Yeah, that's also a big one.
In there.
I mean, I think, look, the UFC obviously made mistakes with Francis. I think you can, and anyone with an open mind can see that. But it just depends on what you want in the stage of your career. I mean, Jon Jones would have been the biggest fight in UFC heavyweight history. That was a fight that escaped all of us.
Question: do you think it can still happen cross promotion?
No, nah. I'd like to see it happen, but I can't see it happening.
What if when Jon Jones is done with Stipe and hangs it up, becomes a free agent? Do you think it can happen then?
Nah, I don't think Jon Jones would ever do that to the UFC. I don't think he'd ever go and fight in PFL, for example. I just can't see it happen. And I think the UFC offered Ngannou a shitload of money. And I do believe that he's taken a massive pay cut. Even though like he's got all this, I think he's taken like a $20 million pay cut or something stupid like that. So he has taken a massive pay cut, which everyone says they're not about the money, but it's a big pay cut to not take. And for his legacy, obviously maybe in the long run it will turn out that he has made the best decision. But I think for right now, for the legacy of Ngannou as a fighter, I think it's always going to escape him that he left the UFC and he didn't re-sign back on. Obviously, I understand his reasonings and stuff. And the UFC are amazing at so much. They really do a lot. People want to complain about fighter pay and how fighters don't get paid enough and all this, which, to be honest, I think is a big load of shit. I think obviously the fighters can get paid more. I definitely do think there's a bracket, like you could have maybe instead of 50 grand bonuses, you can just have it like a guaranteed 50 grand bonus for every finish. So it's like guaranteed as opposed to just picking and choosing. But at the end of the day, the UFC offers so much. If you're in America, you can get free meals for your entire camp. So my mate Chris Duncan, he was in our American soccer team. For 8 weeks, he had 3 meals a day, all for free, right? If you're in Vegas, you can go to the PI. You can train there for free. You can
shout out to Chris Duncan, by the way. Shout out to Chris Duncan.
Yeah, shout out to Chris Duncan. You can do so much for free. If you have injuries or if you have surgeries, the UFC pay for it without even questioning, right? The UFC are always there if you need a hand. I mean, we always talk about Dana White, and there's a lot of stuff that never gets made public about the things that he does for people. He sorts out so many fighters like privately. So the UFC do a lot. Like there's a lot of people that don't complain about the UFC fighter pay, but it's the ones that complain about fighter pay that get the they get the coverage for being the UFC and Dana White. They're so bad with the way they treat their fighters, and I just don't agree with that, to be honest. But having said that, like I said, everyone can always improve. There's always things that can improve. You know, I do think that there could be a lot more to improve stuff for fighters with the UFC. But at the end of the day, you've also got to realize it's a business. It's $1 billion business, and the fighters that are smart enough to understand how the business works, look how well they do. You look at the Conor McGregors, you look at the Sean O'Malley's. They understand the business. They know what's what. If you're smart, this is another thing with the UFC. If you're smart, then you're able to capitalize on the platform that the UFC gives you. And you can make a shitload of money. Now, coming back to the whole Francis thing, again, there's been a lot of stuff that you can see why Francis would be annoyed. I mean, I know that he lost out on $1 million contract for a crypto company because the UFC have an affiliation with another crypto company, stuff like that. I can understand, you know, the way that fighters don't have the right to any sponsors on their gear. They've got to wear the UFC Venom shorts, and all the sponsors are in the cage. I can understand why that's shady. I think there could be like a compromise where fighters should at least be able to have one sponsor.
Yeah,
just one sponsor that gets allowed. I mean, I think that would be fair.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But I mean, fair play to Francis. You know, he's doing something that is potentially very innovative and potentially can change the landscape of MMA. And for all we know, in 5-10 years, that could be a power move that really sets PFL apart from the UFC. That you do. I mean, I think the one thing you'll always struggle with another promotion now is, you know, the UFC is just a legacy. Joe Rogan's there, Dana White is there, Bruce Buffer's there. All the great champions all have their history etched into the UFC. So it's always going to be hard to beat that, I think. Yeah.
I agree with you. It's one of them where, because one of the things and the demands that, you know, we heard Francis was asking for was, and I think this was actually the deal breaker for him and not the money, which he'd always maintain that it's not really about the money for him. He didn't care that, you know, the pay cut that he had to go and take with PFL, because that wasn't the whole object of the actual bone of contention for him. It was more setting up the fighters that weren't really like up there, you know. Like the top tier fighters on the roster should have medical insurance with the company, and UFC doesn't supply that. Obviously,
yeah,
if they have
I agree with that 100%. And again, you've also got to look. It can't just be medical insurance for every single fighter. I think that's also
like
impossible.
you said,
I think
it's got to be.
Yeah, it's a business. So I think you probably got to set a threshold that, say, if you've had 4 or 5 UFC fights, maybe 5 UFC fights, then you will be entitled to some form of medical insurance.
Like make it like an incentive sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And then like if you've had, for example, 10 UFC fights, you probably get more benefits and more coverage. Because it's like when people say that they come to the UFC and they expect to get paid loads. It's like, mate, come on. You can't be coming into the UFC and expecting to get 50 grand for your first fight. Like, everyone's got to battle it out and prove and earn their worth. So yeah, I agree that there should be stuff like that, but you've always got to look at it as a business at the same time.
Yeah, 100%. And just from his take, he was like, you know, obviously they weren't even willing to budge on that, and that was the whole reason why he thought, you know what, I'll take my business somewhere else if you don't want to do that. But I'm just glad it's found a home. It's found a home that he's happy with. It's found a home where he's going to entertain, fight fans. And I'm glad it wasn't on one championship neither, because at least with PFL, he's got more coverage for the western side of the world as well, and have access to ESPN and all the other platforms where they can really showcase the fights and stuff. So fantastic and contract there for Francis, and hopefully we'll see what it brings. And before we end the show, this is the last topic that I wanted to talk to you about before we leave. I want to talk to you about Dricus Du Plessis. He's a friend of the show. He's been on the show. Cameron Simon, we've had him. We deal with a lot of EFC fighters, and some of them that's left EFC and come to the UFC as well. But he's got this thing going on with Izzy. right? Obviously, he just beat Derek Bronson. He beat Darren Till. Just to name a couple to get to into the top five, where is that now? But now the people he's now got in front of him, and I'm talking, the Stricklands, the Robert Whitakers, the Costas. Um, where do you see Dricus in all of this, and the back and forth he had with Easy, a little bit political, but I believe all of that is just to sell the fight. Yeah, some of it was
For sure.
he rubbed some people the wrong way. I see past all of that, right? For me,
It's the
I'm
fight game.
yeah, exactly.
Anything goes.
Kobe does a whole lot. You know what I mean? You just got to look past it and see what they see, what they're trying to do for what it is, right? But when you look at the actual, nuts and bolts of the whole fight itself, what do you think? And where do you see Dricus in all of this story happening at the 205 and his chase for the belt? Because he's now got Robert Whittaker in front of him. And should he have gone after Strickland instead of Robert Whittaker? Do you think that would have been a better fight for him? That will still get him maybe a title shot, if you like.
No, I don't think he went about anything in the wrong way. I think he's smart in the way he's gone about it. He's put himself in a number one contention fight.
Yep.
I'm sure he believes he can beat him as well. He can beat champion. So
Mhm.
yeah, all credit to him. But I can appreciate he might be a friend of the show. But my honest, humble opinion, and I mean this in no disrespect either, because he
Yep.
is a great fighter. You have to be a great fighter to be in the top 15 of any weight division. So I
100%.
don't mean this disrespectful when I say this. I just
No,
don't
no,
think.
no. Say your piece, man.
I just don't think he's got what it takes to beat a Robert Whittaker or to beat an Israel Adesanya.
Mhm.
I just don't see it personally. I just think he doesn't have enough tools that I've seen that can pose a threat towards Robert Whittaker or Adesanya.
Yeah, I mean, look, my one of my best friends, we do a prediction show together every week, and he knows he's a friend of the show, but he has the same opinion that you had, and he even said it in a more blunter way that you put it, which is why I said, yeah, bro, it's your opinion, say your piece. And a lot of people don't think that's the case, which is why I probably put it to you that do you think going after Robert Whittaker or having Robert Whittaker fight for the number one contender fight, do you think he should have gone after Strickland? Would they have had a better chance against Strickland? You know what I mean? Because
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. I think I
and
definitely think
Strickland did call him out as well, still. So
yeah. I definitely think that that the Strickland fight would be a better fight for him stylistically. But you just never know in fighting. Like he may get a career-ending injury in training, and he might never get a chance to fight at the top again. So you have to take the opportunities that are presented to you. The best opportunity is the Rob
right.
Whittaker fight.
That's
And
right.
even if he loses this fight against Rob Whittaker, for all you know, that experience that he'll get from that fight will be so valuable to him going forward. That I don't see any problem in him fighting. I mean, even if I do think he might be out of his depth, the whole experience of fighting a Rob Whittaker, former champion, number one. This is all valuable experience that will prove worthy to him in the future. And like I said, you never know what happens in fighting. He can go in there, he could get battered for 3 rounds, but then land one punch at the last minute and knock him out. So all credit to him. Get that number one contender spot.
Yeah, man. Hey, Paul, I want to thank you so much for stopping by, for pulling up.
Thank you
You've
for
been
having me on. Appreciate it.
so generous with your time, and yeah, hopefully, when you get
Definitely.
your side of the show rolling, I would definitely love to pull up and talk some MMA with you as well, man. You've been fantastic.
100%.
We tried to do this before,
Yeah.
one way or the other. We couldn't get it done. We got it done today. And yeah, I can't thank you enough for stopping by. And hopefully, down the line, maybe we'll be able to get you back on the show. We do watch alongs as well. So maybe sometime when you're free and
Definitely.
you haven't
I'll
got
definitely do a watch along. 100%. I'll definitely do a
man.
watch
So
along.
it'll be nice to jump on the pay-per-view watch along with you. And yeah, just do some contents together, bro.
I appreciate that, bro. Thank you for having me on. You're the first person that's asked me to come on and do stuff. So I appreciate it. I've got a lot of time for you. I've enjoyed the show. You've got a great show. Like I said, you speak very well. So yeah, I'm sure we'll do some stuff together again.
Yeah, man. Fantastic. Thank you very, very much. And people, this has been Paul's Pod. Go subscribe to his channel. Go check out his link in the description. Go and sub to his channel. Share his content. Get his things out of there. You know what I mean? Come show us some love. And up onto the next video, people. We're out. Peace.
Peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Brad Watt from Cage Warriors. You're watching the Fight Week Show. Like, share, and subscribe for all that good stuff. You do not want to miss it.